Cambodia have problem with Vietnam, we go to Thailand for help. When we have problem with Thailand, we go to Vietnam for help. So now, what if we have problem to both? Who can help? The first thing that I predict is that the world will be dictated by China. Great power create world order, not small state. Cambodia cannot create world order.
The importance of this military partnership between China and Cambodia. The US maybe doesn't see it the same way.
Cambodian agency, in my view, is playing out through ASEAN.
Zooming out a little bit, like the world order and kind of the emerging multipolarity that we're seeing. How can Cambodia navigate this as a small state?
Seeing Ream base as a military base to China, to me, is a myth. The destructive of nationalism find its root on this false invasion, fake news, incite, inflammatory rhetoric. These things need to stop.
So, good morning and welcome to our new podcast that we've launched here at Future Forum. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so honored to welcome you as our guest for episode 2 of our new Dongbaek Horizon podcast series that we've launched. So thank you again to our guest, Pou Sothirak, the former Cambodian ambassador to Japan and now distinguished advisor to Cambodian Center for Regional Studies, CCRS. So, as you know, Future Forum is a public policy think tank that is focused on supporting young people and their vision for Cambodia and for the world in general. So, our aim with this podcast is to really bring Cambodia into that global conversation. I think often Cambodia is sort of on the receiving end of a lot of this dialogue. So our goal is to not just contextualize the world for Cambodia and its relevance, but also look to that horizon and think about how can Cambodia contribute to the narrative, how can Cambodia shape global change as well. So, of course, who better to have here with us today for this conversation? I'm really grateful for the opportunity to sit down and have this discussion with you and learn from your insight. So, my name is Olivia. I am a researcher interested in Southeast Asian politics, especially Cambodia. I've been in Cambodia for almost 2 years now, first through the Fulbright Scholarship Program, now here with Future Forum. And it certainly feels, at least to me, like I've been here during a very fascinating and even quite pivotal time with Trump 2.0 and everything that has entailed, the tariffs, the escalating trade war, dismantling of US aid, and now, of course, the border conflict between Cambodia and Thailand. So we have a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss as we look at these pathways forward for Cambodia. And with that being said, I would love to give the floor to you and let you introduce yourself further and share some of your background.
Well, thank you. Good morning. I would like to thank first and foremost Future Forum, Olivia, particularly a good friend of mine, and of course you today, Olivia, for engaging me in this global conversations. I hope I can make some useful sharing of my perspective with regard to your very useful podcast. I understand the title is Cambodia in a Renewable Global Order. Mm-hmm. So I will do my best to try to provide any of my perspective on a relevant question that you might have. Before that, I also would like to say that it is very important entity like Future Forum for engaging Cambodia in a global context. We often too small to gain any attention worldwide. So I think this platform is very useful for both domestic intellectual, young student, young generations, Cambodian, as well as policymakers, as well as regional in the regional context. there's not so much talk about from inside Cambodia out. Of course, I travel quite a bit throughout the spans of my active work. I'm now a retired academic and like to lend support to raise young generation's voice. So I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think maybe a good place to start, and you already sort of touched on this, is why do you think, like now, particularly in this moment, it is so important to bring Cambodia more into this global conversation?
Very much so, because Cambodia is a young democratic state that is emerging from long terms of wars and conflicts. Since the Paris Peace Agreement in 1991, and then 1993 we have a new constitution, and since then Cambodia emerged as a developing country. And one of the, I think there was three, in my view, biggest task for Cambodia or quest for Cambodia future is that the first one is the rehabilitation and the reconstructions of the country. It has been going forward steadily, in my view. Cambodia still rehabilitate and reconstruct the country, but I think the process has been well underway. There's still a lot more to be done. And then the next problem with Cambodia, or the next quest that Cambodia want to do, is to achieve the so-called democracy. This term is very much a learning curve for Cambodia. We have to define what type of democracy that would work in the Cambodian context. Not to say that we disregard the global norm of democracy, but I think democracy in itself require a very knowledgeable base to be able to flourish properly. And the last but not least challenges for Cambodia is to develop our country. As a small state, I think Cambodian dream is to be first and foremost a progressive nations of the world, meaning that we need to ensure domestically that everything we do is triggered down to the people at the base. Inclusive development, sustainability is very important to Cambodia, but externally we need to also ensure that we are a faithful member to ASEAN, and then also productive member to ASEAN. ASEAN play a major role in Cambodian foreign policy, and globally I think Cambodia want to be part of the international community, whereby we take full responsibility to also take part in any global effort to stamp out some of the challenges, be it global warming, environmental issues, world hunger, you name it, political security as well. We very much want to see this world as peaceful, as stable, and as prosperous as possible.
Yeah, I think, you raise a lot of really important areas and kind of global events that it's important to bring into Cambodia's context. I think maybe we can frame this conversation today through three big areas, the first of which being Cambodia's strategic positioning, especially within the context of US-China rivalry in Southeast Asia. The second, looking at what you've just mentioned and also emerging multipolarity. What does that mean for Cambodia as a small state? And then this coming together sort of for the final part of our conversation, looking at pathways forward, like you've mentioned, inclusive development, the importance of ASEAN for Cambodia and the region, all of these important things.
Yeah, very big questions here.
Yeah.
In my view, Cambodian strategic positioning vis-a-vis the global order as we see it today must be placed in the context of, again, the big power competitions. This also true for many part of the Southeast Asian and partially in the global world. I think everybody is affected by big power competition, and the two biggest elephant in the room, that is to say the United States of America and the rising China. For Cambodia to position ourselves strategically in this competition, I think we need to read the contour of this competition correctly. The ability of Cambodia to predict what would be the end game or the futuristic of this competition per se. And that, I think, it's a very difficult task for Cambodia, given the fact that Cambodia is a small state, and we do not have sufficient agency to influence the interaction between the big power. Nonetheless, I think Cambodia does have a niche between US and China, which I will talk about it perhaps a little bit later. But in the context of positioning ourselves, we need to be seen as a neutral partner, at the same time observer to this partner, in the sense that we need to engage both power, and because they engage us. And observe, meaning that there are things that beyond Cambodia doing or influence that can dictate the way the two big powers compete each other. We need to be very clear about this. So we need to create an understanding. As I said, you need to read the contour correctly, which way this competition will take. Is it going to be the world order as we see it, unipolar world order that is led by the US, or is it will one day become the China's-led world order? And that, only future can tell. And then being observer to it, I think we need to also not being sucked into these power competitions, maintain our neutrality in its shape and form completely, not to say that we're neutral, but then we exhibit certain characteristic or certain action that could undermine Cambodian neutrality per se. So I think these are important aspects that we need to do. And your second questions?
Well, I mean, maybe we can kind of unpack this U.S. and China balancing act that you've described for us already. So maybe looking at China first, how would you? I mean, of course, China and Cambodia have this very close relationship.
Yeah.
Described as an ironclad friendship. There are, so many, like, visibly, right, Belt and Road Initiative infrastructure projects throughout the country. How would you describe the partnership between China and Cambodia?
Okay. I just slip on my my mind just now. I wanted to just come back to the strategic positioning, and I wanted to identify three challenges that is for Cambodia, and then I come back to how the relationship between Cambodia and China, particularly in the context of BRI. The challenge of small state, any small state, in my view, have to do with knowing who is your real friend and who is your real enemy. I think as a small state, sometimes we don't know exactly who is a good friend to us and who is not so good friend to us, and that is it's pretty much true with many small states, because in this complex world order is now defining by the power competition again, and then at the moment the US is a dominant power, but we're not sure whether that going to last a lot longer, or maybe there's some kind of arrangement where US and China can coexist together and the world will be peaceful. But for now, I don't think it is the case. So that's the first thing, we don't know what our friend and what our enemy is precisely, The second problem is that small states sometimes have difficulty in knowing that They're not in for short-term gain at the expense of long-term interests. They often be because of being small, there's an immediate need to fulfill their immediate interests, and sometimes without far-sighted look well into the future. Small states tend to not thinking about long-term. In other words, small state often attracted to what's immediately for that small state to gain as far as benefit is concerned. And I think this is probably the case for Cambodia as well. We need to be very careful that the short-term gain does not supersede the long-term interests of the country. In the context, who's your good friend, who might be your enemy, and in that context. And the last things about small state, it's that when you're small, you are susceptible to influence, external influence, being neighboring country or regionally speaking or in a global world. So you need, in the three distinct level, we need to be able to withstand this influence, being political influences, foreign policy influences, or economic influences. And in a more recent time, historical and cultural influences sometimes play a role. So with these three things I wanted to mention before we move on to China relationship with Cambodia, and in the context of BRI. First and foremost, that BRI is a big initiative that is initiated by President Xi in 2013. When China foreign policy then embarked on a new global power projections, Beijing has been relentless in helping building Chinese identity and try to increase their global image to realize the Chinese dream, and also to embark on the rejuvenations of China. These are terms that is commonly discussed at world stage when it comes to China rise, and BRI sitting right in that context. So Cambodia has been a vocal supporter to BRI from the start, from the very start. The country see BRI as a tool to push forward for economic growth and a source of funding needed for important infrastructure development, which fit well in the country national development plan. From the economic considerations, BRI for Cambodia represent a great opportunity for financial resources, technical expertise, and development in the context of road, rail, and port, and other mega infrastructure that the country might need it. I believe that through BRI, Cambodia can stand to benefit from China, the military cooperation as well. I want to bring that aspect into it because it's not so visible to many people. They thought that BRI is strictly economic, but in my view, BRI does have some military aspects to it, military cooperation. And precisely there is a 2022, Cambodia and China signed an MOU on defense cooperations. This is to allow China to assist Cambodia to boost our defense capability, to become a more resilient national army. And as you know, they funded the expansion of Ream naval bases, which began in 2022 and then inaugurated recently in early April 2025. And the Belt and Road is the biggest supporter to Cambodian national development in my view, since the Paris Peace Agreement, the PPA. was concluded, a number of Chinese invested mega projects include hydropower plant, Sinukville Special Economic Zone, Phnom Penh Sinukville Expressway, Siem Reap Angkor International Airport. I try to find out whether the Phnom Penh Airport is also BOI. The statement that come out in the public, it say it's a Cambodian investment completely, but then I think there is, although this is an investment from a Cambodian established company, but I think the financial source might be in some way, some shape and form is coming from China. So and another thing about BOI, BOI is not a one-size-fits-all. BOI is a tailor-made scheme that China is doing to all the country that China want to engage with. It's not like CP, TPP, or any other international big framework, free trade agreement or something. And another aspects of China-Cambodian relationship have to do with what China expect of Cambodia. And in my view, China expect three things from Cambodia. The first one, China want Cambodia to be a loyal friend, a friend that China can count on forever, for a long time. China don't do things for a very short period of time. It will last century if you can last that long with China. But in other words, China don't change mind very suddenly, and they have long-term interest, and they have a roadmap how to achieve that. So the first is loyal friend. I want to be your friend forever. The second thing, I think China want Cambodia to open up to China investment. Not only investment that is small investment, I'm talking about natural resources included. China is a big country. China have an insatiable need of raw material. Even we can simply say, even in a food security context, China consumes so much food-based commodity. You can say rice, even cash crop, sesame seeds, or soybean, or anything that Cambodia can produce. China would buy it, in big quantity, to a point that we may not be able to supply to China. And the third aspect of China interest or China wish list with Cambodia is that China want to count on Cambodia as a carte blanche, the French say, as a, what you call a dark swan or dark horse or whatever. Whenever China need to maneuver through a storm, and I give you some example, the South China Sea issues, the non-issuance of joint communique in 2012 is a case in point. Cambodia has been widely perceived as favoring China positions, to a point that it still haunted us today. And this is the kind of thing that China would want, is to have Cambodia as like a joker, to play in the interest of China in a regional platform, regional issues, even global issues. In fact, I would go even as far as saying that China would like Cambodia to be a spokesperson of China,
right,
when it comes to projecting China image as a peaceful rise, because not many people say or think that China is peaceful, So I think these are issues that I see how China would prefer to have Cambodia as a partner. Now, the reverse. In my view, there's only two things that Cambodia look to China when dealing with China. The first is, I mentioned about the BRI. Predominantly, Cambodia see China as a good brother to Cambodia in providing financial support, in providing grant and loan to meet up with Cambodian need for infrastructure development. That is very obvious, and Cambodia by far receive a lot of assistance from China comparing to others in the region in Southeast Asia. But there's one more thing that Cambodia would look to China, and this aspect is not very visible to many people, and I like to point that out now, is that Cambodia looked to China to help Cambodia safeguarding our independence and sovereignty, territorial sovereignty. And in a case in point, for example, in today's context, I mean, historically, to put to have a better understanding this point, history tell us that when Cambodia have problem with Vietnam, we go to Thailand for help. Mm-hmm. When we have problem with Thailand, we go to Vietnam for help. So now, what if we have problem to both? Who can help us? And that's why I say Cambodia look to China as a big brother who can safeguard Cambodian independence and sovereignty. Mm. I think you will see, we have seen that China already being very proactive in supporting the ceasefire as well. Maybe your question later on can talk about the Cambodian-Thai border dispute. I can talk a little bit more about this. So these are things that I wanted to let you know about Cambodia-China relation.
Yeah, thank you for that quite comprehensive overview of where that partnership is, how we've gotten here today, right? And I think it's interesting, a lot of the things that you mentioned in terms of, for example, this loyalty, this investment. A lot of this approach from China stands in quite stark contrast to the engagement that we've seen coming from the US, right? This other great power. The US is, of course, important for Cambodia for many reasons, including being a huge destination for Cambodian exports. I think maybe it's fair to say that in broad terms, that while China and Cambodia have grown closer, the relationship between the US and Cambodia has trended in the opposite direction, right? We've seen a lot of deterioration. Maybe this is going to change. We've now seen Cambodia nominate Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, which is, I don't think that was on my bingo card for 2025. So what do you make of this and the policy that we've now seen coming out of the Trump administration? In contrast to the engagement with China, where do you think Cambodia is headed in terms of U.S. relations?
The relationship between Cambodia and the United States of America has been going through a lot of cycle, a lot of up and down, more down than up for sure. I think it go down, way down in my recollections that this is partly first and foremost beside the U.S.-China relationship. There's also during the Vietnam War. Cambodia does not configure very clearly in the U.S. engagement in this part of the world, particularly in Vietnam, but seeing Vietnam through Cambodia. And during that time, there's a lot of misconceptions or misunderstanding or misperception, which whatever way you want to look at it, it remained under debate until today as to why Cambodia have never been a part, a sort of like an isolated, tailor-made part of the U.S. policy per se. Not just because we close to China, because the U.S. Foreign policy toward this part of the world, particularly in country nearby, including Vietnam, in history, but also you can bring Thailand into it, which is a traditional ally to the US. Cambodia have never be at that level or that scale. As I said, it's not been debated properly, and I think partly because the U.S. interest in this part of the world is more of to counter or to propel U.S. Interests in the long run. Like in the case of Vietnam, U.S. Supports South Vietnam to overthrow during that time the North Vietnamese, and it's proven to be not successful. Everybody know. And then Cambodia involved with that. There's even secret bombing to the extent. Unfortunately, debate in that have not been very wide open enough to a point to try to reconcile this history, because some Cambodians still hold the view that Cambodia support to the once upon a time the coup by the Republican Lon Nol regime was inflicting point that turned Cambodia into this chaos. When it comes to seeing Cambodia through China lens, this is another aspect of U.S. policy toward Cambodia. Again, it's not a standalone, separately Cambodian U.S. policy, but it's U.S. policy toward Cambodia through seeing China, how the U.S. see China.
It all comes through that China lens.
Yeah, that's right. It's very difficult to decouple it. And I think we have to be very honest in saying that, there's a word that it takes two to tango. As much as we say that we neutral, we need to also provide a comfort zone to the U.S. When we engage it with China, particularly how we exercise our foreign policy, our diplomacy toward China, not to be seen as bandwagoning, in my view. The American is very, if I were to measure it, they go as far as saying that Cambodia's bandwagon with China.
Right. Yeah.
It's not.
Some critics have said it's a proxy state.
Well, yeah.
Right.
So. Yeah, but I disagree with this view.
Yeah.
Not completely, but I disagree in effect, simply because, young Cambodian emerging from war and trying to address major shortcomings as well as challenges, developing the countries and maintaining Cambodian standard in the region and all this. Cambodia need to engage with those who can help Cambodia to move faster in global change, including economic. And if you look in that angle, you see China is more forward-coming. So I don't think it is logical, or is it completely all right to say that Cambodia throw ourselves at China. It's also, you have to know that China throw itself to Cambodia as well. And for a small state that in need of resources and assistance to develop the country, it's naturally Cambodia will respond more favorable to China engagement. And this part have not been very well taken by Washington, D.C. You can say that, why you do this with China, why do that with China? But then what is it the U.S. do to Cambodia? Like I said, U.S. have not seen Cambodia in a complete picture.
Yeah.
It always through a lens of China. And this thing need to be recalibrated. And when I'm hoping down the line you also ask questions about Ream base, then I can bring more light into how U.S. want to engage Cambodia and how Cambodia can engage U.S. I believe that the next visit of Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to Cambodia will be a defining moment to recalibrate Cambodia-U.S. relationship.
Yeah, I think Ream Naval Base it's been a very key point of tension in the relationship between Cambodia and the U.S. I mean, before you mentioned the importance of this military partnership between China and Cambodia. The U.S. Maybe doesn't see it the same way. Like you mentioned, there is this upcoming visit from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth later this year to Ream Naval Base. Broadly, the U.S. has really seen Ream as a Chinese base, even though Cambodia has said again and again it's not a Chinese naval base. I don't think that has done too much to change the U.S. perception that it is, which is a very dangerous perception, right? It almost doesn't even matter if it is or isn't if the U.S. wholeheartedly believes that it's a Chinese base. So what do you think Cambodia can do to counter this and to better engage with the U.S. on this front?
Okay. Well, my view about Ream Naval Base is in twofold. The first point is that seeing Ream Base as a military base to China, to me, is a myth. It's not true. And this has been verified again and again by the Cambodian government, both from then Prime Minister Hun Sen and then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Cambodia, many times over. It's not the Cambodian Constitution, Article 53, will not prevent or will not allow Cambodia to have a military base. So that has been in black and white, but as you mentioned, it remains a perceptions. So the reality is a myth, but the perception, in my view, is as consequential to Cambodia as if it were a myth. It's bad if you have a base. It's against your constitution. But even a big power like US think that this is a military base. So what is it that Cambodia need to do? I think when Pete Hegseth come, he will definitely ask, although the obvious answer is there, but he will definitely ask the Cambodian authority, maybe Ministry of Defense, maybe the minister at the time, whether Cambodia have a base. And sure enough, I'm sure that the Minister of Defense of Cambodia will say, no, it's not a base. We do not give a base to foreign military or foreign country. It's against our constitution. But I think beyond these questions, simple questions and simple answer, you need to go deeper, a bit deeper into question whether, these issues at the moment come about because you need to. I try to understand why America formed this perception, and in fact use this perception many times over. Is it to put pressure on Cambodia? And after a long time, I come to a conclusion that definitely not so. It is more to China than to Cambodia. Why? I explain. Now, if you look at the U.S.-led Indo-Pacific strategy, now I think we have to wait to see President Donald Trump, the Indo-Pacific strategy 2.0. I think he will redefine a little bit. Although the threat perception remain the same, but the way through which the U.S. implement its Indo-Pacific strategy will be recalibrated. So the raison d'etre is the same. The strategic intents of the Indo-Pacific strategy remain the same, but the way they implement it is different. And then we have to have an interview session to talk about what Pete Hegseth said during the Shangri-La dialogue. I can give you, if you ask the question, I can tell you what it is. But it's a little bit more sophisticated now. It's it's effective deterrent, to prevent war from happening. Basically, these the message that under Trump, Pete Hegseth is delivering during the Shangri-La. But come back to Ream base, it is to the American, China, Russia, and terrorism is classified as threat to the United States national security interests. So, if you have a base in this part of the world, you will definitely be seen as not so friendly to the U.S. foreign policy when going through Indo-Pacific strategy. For freedom of navigation and overflight. So definitely the U.S. will never allow, in my opinion, to have China, completely take over Cambodia in that sense. In other words, the U.S. cannot see the logic of having Cambodia being a Chinese base. It's too close to the South China Sea. Even when the South China Sea become an active theater of a war game, a war of some kind of conflicts between U.S. and China, any base surrounded that is influenced by China will favor China against the U.S. Defense people will agree to my statement. These are things that people sometimes take it literally. Small, isolated. Why is it, To me, Ream base does not pose any threat to anyone. It does not have the so-called dimension, the strategic military dimension that threaten anyone. Because, the real intent of engaging with China, in my view, with regard to Ream base, is for Cambodia to professionalize its army, to bring up, to professionalize its naval and coast guard. We have something like 400 miles of coastal line. There's many things in the maritime domain that Cambodia need to safeguard, not to mention territorial sea, but also resource underneath, including biodiversity in the sea. People sometimes, because we're too small, we don't have the capacity to oversee all these things. And what about overfishing? What about transnational crime? That could also come into play. So Cambodia need to uplift its capability, marine and naval capability. And again, here's the point that I made earlier. China come forward and say, here it is. We have a strategy to help you, to help you increase your capability. And it would be a remiss for Cambodia if we say, no, we don't want Chinese. Who's going to come and give this kind of assistance to Cambodia? So I think people sometimes, it's too quick to pass judgment on Cambodia in that sense. So I think we need to acknowledge that Cambodia can count on China to professionalize and to increase the capacity of our naval and our coast guard to safeguard our naval, our maritime domain as well. You see, this is a point about Ream base. And so, is U.S. benefit from saying all the time that this is a base? And is it Cambodia all the time benefit from saying, no, it's not a base? Now, this is my last point about Ream base. You know who's the winner out of this? Is China. I think unless the United States see this, it will continue to be a thorny issues between Cambodia and the U.S. At the moment, China, for the benefit of the doubt, have forced the American to believe it's already a base. It's not yet a reality, but the American is so afraid about this base. So, not afraid, maybe I use it wrong, so concerned, about this base to a point that it will benefit China. And China will continue to be nuanced about these issues. Whoever wants to think that Cambodia is a base to China, go ahead. Please think so.
Counter that narrative.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything, So, but also I often tell my friend outside of Cambodia, mostly Western friend, who ask me this question, with all the technology and eye in the skies, the satellites and everything that the U.S. have. If the U.S. have anything that can be as evident and using military definition of a base, please pass it to Cambodia. Show it to Cambodia, release this information, and say, look, hey, you hear what I know about, Ream base with regard to how China developed the base that could constitute a military base, and here's some proof for you to consider. This the U.S. will do good to Cambodia because we don't want to have a base. Definitely, we don't want to have a base. But you see, it's only wording that they say China have a base, China have a base. As I mentioned, to me, I don't see. I'm a political scientist. I don't have a military background. I don't know much about the utility. What is the exact definitions of a military base in a military context? But from a political security angle, I don't see that this Ream base is a threat to anyone, including some country in ASEAN. I do not want to speculate anything, but there are people within ASEAN also think that this is also a Chinese base.
Well, it's certainly something to keep a close eye on in the coming months, especially the upcoming visit. Maybe we'll have to invite you back for another discussion on this.
Yeah, wait until what they transpire.
We'll see. Yeah.
You know what I'm hoping? Sorry to add this a little bit. Early on, I'm talking about resetting U.S. And then you bring up the question. I think this is a perfect time, in my view. It's like a new impetus, a new window of opportunity for Cambodia and the United States to reset their relationship, is to clearly explain to the American, Cambodia does not allow China to have base. I informed you just now that the base is supported by Chinese money, Chinese assistance, but inaugurated in April this year. But then since then, the Japanese warship visiting, the Russian, the Vietnamese, who else is already coming. And then I think there's a lot of other countries in line to come and visit. And then I have to give a lot of credit to the new Prime Minister Hun Manet, when he inaugurated the base. He openly announced that any friendly country can visit the base. So I think, this part of Cambodian defense diversification, we truly looking for friendly country who can help support Cambodia upgrading our capacity. Again, it's very important for young country, to beef up our Coast Guard and naval to safeguard our maritime domain, from environmental to fishery to biodiversity to transnational crime, including, there might be some issue related to maritime conflict between Thailand and Cambodia later on. Kokut is another. In due course, it may become a flashpoint also with Thailand, And then, to my understanding, it's also some lingering, unfinished issues with related in a maritime domain with Vietnam as well, because of colonial legacy, ligne brevier, historical water between Cambodia and Vietnam, and so on. And so there's still a lot of things that Cambodia need to see in a context how Cambodia can safeguard our maximum security at sea, when it comes to if there should be any flashpoint in relation to maritime domain and territorial claim that Cambodia may also have a claim as well.
Yeah, this safeguarding diversification of partnerships, this is so important for Cambodia as a small state, both like from a security perspective, but also everywhere, right? Economy, like everything, this is so important. And I think this sort of leads us into the next area of discussion, which is zooming out a little bit, like the world order and kind of the emerging multipolarity that we're seeing. How can Cambodia navigate this as a small state? I think maybe we can start by talking about what exactly multipolarity means. I think some different governments and states have taken a different approach to interpreting and applying multipolarity. I think if you ask some, it is like anti-imperialism and maybe some equality for smaller states. If you ask Marco Rubio, it is more like, okay, this is our impetus to expand the American sphere of influence and, I don't know, like conquer Canada or something, right? So what does multipolarity mean for Cambodia?
Okay. I will come in a different angle rather than just talking about multipolarity. I will talk at what is it exactly the world order as it is right now, and try to answer what is exactly the nature of this world order, who create this world order. Great power create world order, not small state. Cambodia cannot create world order. That you need to be very honest to yourself. Small state, not just Cambodia, any small state or even middle power may not be able to dictate what the world order is all about. So great power create order and manage world order. After they create, they manage it. And this is a very polite term I use, manage. And in fact, they control it. If you want. The world today, in my view, it remains a unipolar world, in my view, where dominant state is a liberal democracy, and they use liberal international system to rule this world order. That you need to, these are just basic understanding. And who's this guy? Uncle Sam. Do you know Uncle Sam?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So what does that Uncle Sam want to do with this world order? 3 things. First, they want to turn every country in the world to become democracy like US. That is number one thing that they would want to do. And make no mistake, they want everybody, including China, to become a democracy.
Easy.
Okay? That's the first thing that they want to do. And the second thing they want to but they did already, they design an open international economy based on what? Capitalism. The WTO, for example, these are the hallmark of the American. They use this as a dominant, this is a world order where American is very strong, to a point they use this free trade, international economic policy that derived from free trade concept that the American put in place to try to bring China to become more democracy. But you and I know the result, and it benefit China a lot. But is it today China democracy? You ask the Chinese, they say they're democracy, I visit many times. I ask my friend, are you democracy? They say, yeah. Okay. So that's a second point. And the third thing, it's not visible to many people, is that United States want to integrate state into a more institutionalized entity. Institutionalized meaning that it's not a country that solely count on the state as a sole agency to dictate everything. Institution mean you can have other agency. You can have NGO, you can have civil society, you can even have scholar. You can have this forum, for example, to inject some idea into how the world order should be established or managed. Okay, so these are not very visible. Most of the time to young generation Cambodian who study, these are not something that is attract them the most, but in fact, it is one of the strongest things that I would argue that the United States want to do in institutional building. It's so important to this world order. So coming back to your multipolarity, during COVID, toward the end of COVID, I wrote an article, and it widely, I published it, and it widely accepted, and I predict 3 scenarios post-COVID world order. And this will explain the polarity that you talk about right now. The first thing that I predict is that the world will be dictated by China. China world order based on what? Based on socialism with Chinese characteristic. Please try to also do some study about President Xi Jinping visions about China socialism with China characteristic, of which he said that this is the only way that China can survive. This to make China great again. It's almost the same thing like Trump, make America great again. It's not so much a big bang to many people, but because people tend not to study China sufficiently to try to feel, the intensity of the desire of China to also come up with their own order that they feel comfortable. So China's led order, and you may also want low down from socialism with Chinese characteristic. I strongly recommend people who study China footprint in the world to pay close attention to 3 initiatives that China do. This is beside the BRI. The first one is the Global Security Initiative, GSI, Global Security Initiative. This GSI, this is a new concept that President Xi is espousing to make China great again. It's based on a concept. If you read the concept, it's publicly available on website. It's basically based on the indivisible security concept. Indivisible security. China, before this one, was very big with comprehensive security. That's everything. Human security, hard, soft security, everything is in there. Traditional, non-traditional security. But now, if you look GSI, it's the idea about your security is my security. Anything happen to you will happen to me. Anything happen to me will happen to you. It cannot be separate. And this fit very well in the Chinese. China is so great also in ideology. It's in, you probably hear about shared destiny and common, shared future and common destiny. Common destiny and shared future. This is Chinese dream. Madame Fu Ying, if you know her, she's very eloquent about it. I listened to her talk some years back, and she's very eloquent about China dream. So this concept is basically going through this shared destiny, common future altogether. That another initiative that you have to watch for is a Global Development Initiative, GDI. Now, people don't like to talk about this, or they are not attracted to it. But China, President Xi Jinping also, this is a transformation or the derivative of the BRI. From a big scheme, doing big thing, GDI is focusing on a smaller, more attractive, more quality, more down to earth. It's going to benefit people, not just the state. BRI is more about state, but GDI is more about for people. Smaller scale, very efficient, very effective. Some of this has been already implemented in Global South, particularly in Pacific Islands country. I have yet to find out whether GDI take root in Cambodia. I have yet to find out. I to be honest, I don't see any things yet. It's still BOI, you know. GDI have not yet come. Maybe one day it come. I don't know what. I don't know when, but maybe I won't live long enough to witness it. But you know, like I said, China is, you know, they talk about 5,000 years. They don't just talk about yesterday and today and 10 days ahead of you. They talk about long period of time, right? And the third level of initiative that I think we need to pay attention is a global cultural people-to-people initiative of China. So I think you put these three together, don't underestimate China. You know, when China say, hey, now, you know, why is it that we have to play by the American-led international rule-based order? So now, a conclusion, is it going to go from unipolar world order now that predominantly led by US? I think more and more you see the decline of the US preponderant powers, and you start to see China become more confident, more assertive, and more comfortable in telling the world that, hey, us too. We're not comfortable with the order that you put after World War II, you know, from 1945 to roughly 1990, when during the Cold War period, and then 90 down to about 2015 when China started to really rise and unstopped, the post-Cold War. And then from 2015 to now, you know, people saying that we re-enter Cold War again. And some say, no, it's going to be World War III or something, you know. So I think the debate now, as you can see, from unipolar, I think we're now at the exit point of unipolar. The American is no longer the only superpower that can dictate everything anymore, you know. Into, I mean, the most obvious thing, if you read my article that I referred to, you know, we are now entering the bipolar world where you witness the more fierce competition between the US and China. So my prediction was the first scenario was China-led. It's not happening now, and it's very difficult that this order will happen only if the US completely fade away. I don't think they will completely fade away. I mean, you have Trump who, by making America great again, they make Pax Americana like a history completely gone, you know. But then you see what Trump do, a revisit of Monroe theory, of which that the American now is very inward. We only looking after our own security. We only want to make America great again at the expense of whatever. We no longer want to be a big brother of the world, you know. So that was my, the second point is bilateral, and the last point is the fierce competition between that may lead to a multipolar world. When these two fiercely compete each other, then you will attract the mini-lateralism per se, the middle power begin to question themselves. Hey, why would I let the world dictated by either China or the US? Where are we? You know, and you ask me, where's Cambodia in that? I'm afraid, you know, we probably filter down. Not to say we don't have any agency, but our agency, Cambodian agency, is, in my view, is playing out through ASEAN. You know, ASEAN, in some way, you can classify them as middle power, as a soft one. Maybe at the moment a normative middle power that can also, you know, share some idea, basically constructivist idea, that idea matter, you know, idea can also shape the contour of the world, that make the world more safer. So let's see what happens. So I hope I understand you. Make you understand what I think about multipolarity. We may entering multipolarity, in my view, if this fierce competition continue to a little bit longer. It, not yet. I think at best you can expect, in my view, is a bipolar world. Not to say that the third the third tier, which is middle power, have no agency, but they still have agency, but they will be absorbed by these two. Right now, what you see playing out is that everybody is pressured to choose side. ASEAN, Cambodia, and then even European country, now have to think about, when Trump is now very, what you call, intimidated, that you need to raise your defense spending to 5% of your GDP, and then they begin to feel the pinch, particularly in NATO and Russian invasion of Ukraine. And you can see that middle power, particularly European Union, is now begin to question the leadership of the United States. And at the same time, I think there is some arrangement whereby the European Union have to assess China rise again, whether is it going to be peaceful or is it going to be harmful to the European Union interests.
So with all of this context in mind, we've talked about the US, we've talked about China, where Cambodia sits in the world as a small state. Maybe we can look now to the future, these pathways forward for Cambodia, especially speaking to the younger generation. And beginning with what is right in front of us, what is so critical right now, we have, of course, the border conflict with Thailand and Cambodia. So how do you suggest we approach talking about this conflict? We've seen a lot of narratives, of course, and there's a lot to unpack there. So where would you begin?
Good question. I think when it comes to Cambodian-Thai border dispute, and now turn into conflicts, very serious conflicts, one have to take account first and foremost what's the root cause of this context. Of course, I wrote a book about it, but I wanted to just summarize for you what I think it basically the root cause, and then I would give you some of my perspective how you get out from this conflicts for both Cambodia and Thailand, and those who consider themselves friends to both countries. The root cause of these conflicts is basically nationalism. I mean, it's go without saying there is a flare-up of nationalism, particularly for Cambodia, more so. Nationalism, it's its own nature, I would say, in Cambodian case. Thailand nationalism is nationalism in a context of Thai domestic politics, more so than Cambodia. Now, in the Cambodian case, nationalism go back to when Cambodia won the case in 1962, when ICJ ruled that the Temple of Prayer here belonged to Cambodia. The exact word is this: the Temple of Prayer here is situated in the territory belong to Cambodia. So anything that sit in your territory belong to you. Foreign country cannot claim it. And from then, there was a flare-up again during the time that Cambodia requests to inscribe the Temple Prayer here in the World Heritage Site. This is in July 2008. Yes. And during that time, a week after we were able to, when the World Heritage Committee included Cambodia in the World Heritage Site, Thai force come and occupy the temple and the pagoda nearby the temple. And the whole idea was to say that there's a contested territorial, not the temple itself, but the 4.6 square kilometer belong to Thailand, Thai claim. In fact, to give a recent history some context, is that during the CVV was inscribed in 2008 as a World Heritage Site, but in 2007, the World Heritage Committee, UNESCO, precisely have a meeting in, I believe in Christchurch in New Zealand, and Thai already during that time opposed to the inscriptions by showing the map, the unilaterally drawn map, which show the 4.6 square kilometer near the temple, the perimeter nearby the temple, saying that belong to Thailand. Therefore, you should not list the temple as a World Heritage because Thai still claim the land nearby. At that time, I was a Cambodian ambassador to Japan, and I learned that the UNESCO giving both Thailand and Cambodia 1 year, saying that okay, we not voting on during 2007 to inscribe Cambodia, but both Thailand and Cambodia have to work out between yourself about this 4.6 square kilometer. But UNESCO also tell Thailand that if they were to vote, then if they were to vote in 2007, they will vote in favor of Cambodia to inscribe the Temple of Prayer here as a World Heritage. In other words, Thailand know for sure that if, with or without the resolution to the 4.6 square kilometer, the UNESCO, which is a body that only look at the value, the cultural value of the temple per se, they're not there. UNESCO does not rule over territorial claim, they rule over cultural value, and they tell Thailand that if they were to vote, they will vote in favor of Cambodia. So sure enough, when 2000, and there was no voting at that time, Thai government support Cambodia already. But then when Thai come back, then the military, that's why I said nationalism with domestic characteristic, domestic politic characteristic. They said that the Thai government have no jurisdiction to decide, and they bring during that time the pro-Thaksin government down, the red and yellow shirt. If you study, I wrote a book about this. So nationalism and the animosity and humiliations between the two countries play a big role into the root cause. Now, the flare-up of today confined to 4 areas when it started, and that is to say there's an area of Cambodia called Mumbai, the Thai call it Chongbok, and the English call it Emerald Triangle. So even name, it's a bit confusing already, And it's also extended to cover 3 Cambodian temples, Prasat Takrabai, Prasat Tamon Thom, Prasat Tamon Tut. So, Thailand also claimed those 3 temples. And to make things very short about this point is that if you look at historical record, if you study preservations, you have to give credit to archaeological record. There is inscribed in stone, people write in stone that this temple is built by Khmer king in the 11th century. So unless Thailand can prove that this temple is built by Thai king or any kind of a kingship or government during that time, it will make Thailand look very awkward in claiming Cambodian temple as their temple. They claim it uses the map that is drawn by themselves, unilaterally drawn, which is another very weak point, whereas Cambodia referred to the 1904 and 1907 treaty, Franco-Siam treaty, that they create a Franco-Siam demarcations commission to work on the borderline between Indochine and Siam during that time. And the map has been recognized by both entities, that is the French colonial power supervising Cambodia and Siam during that time. The map has been recognized, there's evidence, and that's why when Cambodia take the Temple of Privy here to court in 1962, Thailand lose the case. The major evidence that Cambodia used was a map. The map, the Annex 1 map, was part of the 11 map that was produced by Franco-Siamese Commission to demarcate the borderline. So the borderline existence then, and it was used to define where it belonged to Cambodia, where it belonged. And then now in the 21st century, in like yesterday, you have this again, a map that showed that no, the temple of these three temples belong to Thailand. I mean, please, of course I'm Cambodian, I have to favor Cambodia, but I mean, you look at the legal value of Cambodia versus legal value of Thailand, you can imagine that we have a stronger case to say that these temples belong to us. It's written, built at what year by what king and what style, everything that you go to archaeologists' file, you can find everything there already, okay? And so the problem today is now, start with who shoot first. Basically, 28 May, one Cambodian soldier died, Thai shooting. So it's very difficult to find out who shoot first. The Thai say Cambodians shoot first and then they defend themselves. By defending themselves, they kill one soldier. The Cambodian say that no, we did not shoot first, you shoot first. So, and now it transpired to what? It transpired to closing border. It transpired to very bad bilateral relation. Diplomatic relation is downgraded. Now they remove both ambassadors from each other. So the channel of communications now is prevented, is obstructed. It is very grave. The relationship between Cambodia and Thailand, bilaterally speaking, is very bad. And going forward, unless they restore it, it's not going to make Cambodia and Thailand to live everly happy, ever after, so to speak. So what happened when these things happen? We have to give President Donald Trump huge credit in initiating the offering United States as a broker to mediate a ceasefire, and followed by a proactive role of ASEAN chair, which is Malaysia. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim also proactively support the ceasefire, and there's a special meeting between the two Prime Ministers of Cambodia and Thailand, and I also wanted to give homage, present my respectful congratulations to both Prime Minister of Cambodia and Acting Prime Minister of Thailand for agreeing to sit down and using conversation, by way of talking rather than, hit each other so hard on the battlefield, at the ground, This is a much better way. So I'm hoping that this ceasefire would hold. So what, in my opinion, what are the model actions and concrete steps that can be taken to diffuse attention and come up with a better solution to resolve this issue? This is just my idea. I have given a lot of talk about this, and I also have written quite a bit about it, besides writing 2 chapters of the book that I mentioned a little bit earlier about the temporal preview here. This is my view. I propose that both leader of Cambodia and Thailand, including the military, if possible, to declare truce and to build trust. Declare truce and then start building trust between the two countries by doing what? I have 5 suggestions. The first one is to diffuse, to de-escalate military pressure, by declaring permanent ceasefire. This first step is now being implemented. And again, thank you to President Trump now, their suggestion that the Cambodian government would support his role as a Nobel Peace Prize, if peace ultimately really derive from there, I'm also want to recommend that President Trump be considered a recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, Definitely, I think this is something that, because he definitely stopped the war between Cambodia and Thailand. So the first thing is permanent ceasefire. The second thing is to, in my view, to immediately remove military troops from both sides, at least 5 kilometers away from each other. Because if you put the military element inside, there are bound to be misunderstanding. Again, the idea about shoot first, if you look at what transpired, 28 May, 1 Cambodian killed, soldier at the border killed, and then they blame each other who shoot first. Now, the 24th of July clash start with almost the same thing, where Thailand start to put barbed wire in one of the temple, preventing civilian to visit. The Cambodian border guard there go and remove the barbed wire, and there's a shooting, and the Thai say Cambodian shoot first, and Cambodian say Thai shoot first again. I mean, this is who shoot first is always a spark. So you need to remove military element from both sides far enough so that they don't use who shoot first to complicate the issues. If it's possible, this should be part of the ceasefire agreement. And then I think the ceasefire agreement should also transpire into a more robust term of reference with timeline, with clearly compliances and enforcement clause in there, saying that both sides agree to ceasefire, and then there's an observer there, and the observer role is to policing this who shoot first, should there be, so as that they don't it's not come into play. So there need to be a clearly defined term of reference, in my view. I think it's lacking. I'm hoping that after they meet, they can reconcile some differences and they move forward in developing together this roadmap to ensure that ceasefire is whole. The term of reference is basically a step-by-step how to de-escalate hostility, removing troop, and then observing that the ceasefire is intact. So to do what? The third point is to accept the ASEAN. In my view, ASEAN should play a leadership role in providing monitoring to the ceasefire, with the participations of a third party, those who consider themselves as friends to both countries. In this case, US, China, Japan, UK, France. The list go on. Many people, many countries express support to this ceasefire. So the third point is to accept ASEAN observer to ensure a peaceful environment conducive for diplomacy and dialogue to happen. And then the fourth point, in my view, as quickly as possible, one is done. When the step 3 is done, they need to reinstate the existing excellent relationship that they have post 28 May, before the shooting of 1 Cambodian. Cambodia and Thailand relationship was excellent, was very good. Open border, a lot of trade between people of both sides visit to each other, government to government is also very good, relationship. So we need to reopen that and bring back those excellent bilateral relations and open all border crossing and again restore trust and promote mutual understanding from both sides. That's a fourth step. And my last point is to refrain from using inflammatory rhetoric and focus on peaceful way of resolving dispute, not to use military means. Now, inflammatory rhetoric is often caused by social media. Social media play a critical role here. It is shown that not all social media is contributing to a peaceful settlement of dispute. It's more of an inflaming, So we need to make sure those rhetoric is suppressed and prevented, And then what is it the peaceful way? People ask, what is it the peaceful way? Is it talking peaceful way? Yeah, talking is peaceful way. There are framework, there is bilateral framework exists. The GBC, Joint Border Committee. I wanted to say a few words about the Joint Border Committee predominant role. They were created through an MOU that was signed by both countries witnessed by Prime Minister of both countries at that time, and then there is a committee. Cambodia appointed one responsible minister to be in charge, and Thailand do the same. But their mandate is to demarcate, And if you visit the spirit of the MOU, everything is already written there. One thing that I noticed is it's also say that the Joint Border Committee should meet at least once a year, if I remember correctly. But then, if you look at from 2013, when the second time when Cambodia took Thailand for reinterpretations of the Temple of Prayer here, the court ruled in favor of Cambodia again. But from 2013 to present day, 2008, there was no meeting of the GBC. And people ask me why. I think you have to know that during this time, from 2010 to the eruption, prior to the eruptions of the conflicts, Thailand and Cambodia exist in a very peaceful way together. So I think that one way to explain that there's no need to have a meeting to send, everything look good already. So, maybe status quo is better than, provoking everything each other like this. So that's just one explanation. So what happened is that this Joint Border Committee have to demarcate the whole nearly a little bit more than 800 kilometers of borderline between Thailand using what is written down as a rule of engagement between the two sides. In other words, including the map that was used, and the Cambodian want to use whatever the map that is saying there. But then Thailand keeps saying, no, there's a better map, that favor Cambodia. So this is a point of contentious. They need to sit down and sort this out, by talking rather than take the matter through guns and military mean, So peaceful way mean using JBC. And if JBC doesn't work, you have to step up. You're using multilateral way, that is to go through ASEAN, or for mediations, or go through the UN. Cambodia have done that. We went, we launched an appeal to the UN already,
right.
And also we go as far as seeking ICJ ruling over the 4 areas that I mentioned. We invite Thailand to join us so as to settle the matter once and for all. because Cambodia viewed that by going to ICJ, this is a most respectable way of settle the matter, because we always hang up with which map, what map to use, and who's right, who's wrong, who's claim what, and so on. So the Cambodian wanted to tell Thailand that if you claim what we also claim, claim is a claim until proven is a claim. So you have to, and who can prove that belong to either party is the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. It's a most respectable way. But until now, Thailand still say, I want bilateral. So Thailand have a lot of work to convince Cambodia on the merit of the bilateral talk. Because as I observe, Cambodia become very, they lose confidence in the bilateral talk, the Cambodian side, because it go nowhere. It's always come up with to which map, And so when you bog down with that, you have to find other way, other peaceful way, You want to you want to internationalize the issues, get UN involved. Before that, maybe you want to get ASEAN, give ASEAN a chance. Maybe ASEAN can do something, So if we let ASEAN do some work, maybe there's a way out also. At the moment, like I said, the first step is in the process. As we speak, the joint, the General Border Committee, which involved military from both sides, is now meeting in KL, in my understanding, in Malaysia, to try to see how to move forward, how to maintain the ceasefire, which is good. That is those are my 5 points. But these 5 points have to be complementary to the observer, to the third party environment as well, because I don't think it's sufficient without the observer, without the good office and mediation from the third party, particularly from ASEAN, China, US predominantly, France, Japan, whoever country who want to be active in finding lasting solution to both sides should get involved, witness, and also help create environment where Cambodia and Thailand can build trust, have confidence in each other to proceed with peaceful way of settlement to settle the dispute. So this good office and mediation from a third party is to try to reconcile differences, identify all other options beside the military, including bilateral negotiation, multilateral framework such as arbitration, or using ASEAN or UN framework, as well as refers the case to the ICJ. The ICJ is also peaceful, but both sides should agree to go. Now Cambodia have shown leadership in seeking ICJ. I think ultimately, if Thailand still have some reservation, if they have clear legal proof that those areas belong to them, they should go to the ICJ, and to give peace a chance. If everybody want peace, this is the best way to do so. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. I know it's challenging to calculate the exact right formula for a lasting peace. I definitely don't have one yet, but I really appreciate you outlining some concrete steps that Cambodia can take to move beyond this pause and really build this partnership and relationship, not just on the foundation also of sort of economic threats from Trump, but more trust, more integration. And so with just 5 minutes left, maybe we can look really at the younger generation in Cambodia right now. I think what you mentioned about social media and media narratives is also so important when we're thinking about how young people are shaping and contributing to processes like these. Of course, we saw, a lot of local dis and misinformation circulating, a lot of nationalism. And so What would you say, or how do you think younger people can engage with this in a way that is constructive and positive, not just really heightening anxieties?
Yeah, I think the future of Cambodia and Thailand rely in some way on young generations of both countries. And when it comes to young generations of both countries, in this context, in the present day context, as I mentioned earlier, that the nationalism is ravaging, it's flaring up. It's a burning desires of both sides to protect their own versions of national territory that get to this complication. So what would be the constructive role of youth? And in relation to media, I will touch upon it. So I want to talk about two things here. The constructive nationalism and the destructive nationalism. So let's start the destructive nationalism first. The destructive or nationalism find its root, find its energy, find its potency basically on this false information, on misunderstanding, on fake news, incitement, inflammatory rhetoric. These things need to stop. Government of both sides need to make sure to tame that down. So as to, because youth is very attractive to this. But they did not know this is destructive. So when youth know something that Thailand say something about Cambodia is a threat to Thailand national security, they see Cambodia as an enemy. Likewise, when Cambodia youth, by listening or by influencing by these false informations, they start to think that Thailand is a threat. Thailand is an enemy of Cambodia. This is very destructive. This nationalism should not be as a way to resolve the conflict, because ultimately both sides have to realize that they will be forever in the world map. They are there forever. They cannot move their border. The border is there. They next door. They neighbor. They cannot say, no, now I have problem with you. Can I move somewhere? You cannot move your away. So you have to live with this confined. So this type of destructive nationalism need to go away. And leaders of both countries have to do their utmost to try to tame down. And I observe, during the time, often than not, for example, President of the Senate, former Prime Minister Hun Sen, keep asking the Cambodian not to pass wrong judgment to the Thai people in general. He more often than not. And the young Prime Minister of Cambodia also follow his father's footsteps by asking the Cambodian public not to be, prejudiced of common Thai people, normal Thai people, I think these are good things, but I think beyond that, there ought to be an effort by both sides to allow to have youth to come together, youth from Thailand and youth from Cambodia. So with your platform, with Future Forum, I like to launch an appeal that, this is aside from government, this is aside from military, this is people to people, public to public. So there ought to be a platform where Cambodia youth can meet Thai youth and express their desire for a peaceful coexistence. Same thing, Thai youth should come here or meet somewhere if possible. Maybe coming here is very difficult for them, and for us going there may be difficult for us, but we can meet on a neutral ground. This is not neutral ground. This is not a bad idea for those who want to be friend to Cambodia, is to help promote. And Future Forum also can help promote this message, is to focus on the constructive nationalism by telling Thailand, look, I love my country as much as you love your country. But since we are friend to each other, we're not enemy, we're friend. We should, accept certain things, things, what is it that we should accept? First and foremost, the rule of engagement. We should not allow military conflict to start. Anything but military conflict should be part of the solution to this problem. Let's talk about it. Maybe Thailand have some evidence that show to the Cambodian youth that whatever they claim have a legal value. I think the Cambodian youth are receptive. And likewise, what Cambodia youth want to say, but say it in a constructive way. Don't passing judgment. Don't name and shame each other. Don't create an animosity for nothing. It's very difficult when you wrap yourself with your national flag. You tend to take your perception become blur. You become inward. You only look after your own interests. But try to think the border that divides us it's not visible. It's not there. Try to think that, why should we make this border to divide us this way, but to have this border to bind us together? You look at the experience of the EU, when EU integrate, border is no longer a dominant factor. You have Schengen visa. You can have Schengen visa. You can go to visit France. You can go visit Germany without.
Could have that here. ASEAN.
Maybe we just declare between don't have to be Schengen visa. Just if you Thai, you come here. We Khmer, we go Thailand. Try to promote people-to-people exchange as much as possible. So constructive nationalism is about that. It's to create schemes, mechanism, framework that allow both sides to reap common interests, common prosperity, mutual understanding, peaceful way of settle dispute through dialogue. Keep cool-headed. Because this will have influence over policymaker and also from the military side. So my message again, I think youth play an absolutely important role. Youth from both countries should wrap themselves around constructive nationalism, not to inflame themselves. Don't let destructive nationalism burn yourself. There's no one. You don't have to die protecting your interests. But if you get caught in the battlefield or you involved in the battlefield, chances are you will get killed. By shooting at each other. So try to not go to that end. So the best way is to remove military force from both sides as far as possible and allow diplomacy to prevail. And again, I think a role youth play an absolutely important role. And my last point, I want to throw my hat by respecting, by congratulating, by offer my sincere congratulations to Prime Minister Hun Manet, young generations of Cambodia who have very high educations and also very dynamic. He have a lot of energy from a young generations. I think Cambodian young generation have a lot of confidence in his leadership. And I think that the whole country is in full support, including myself, in full support and have full confidence in the Cambodian government handling of the border dispute thus far, hoping that the ceasefire will hold and then we can lead to a peaceful settlement of dispute between Thailand and Cambodia. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think that that call to constructive nationalism is such a strong note to end on, and underscores really the goal and the aim for this podcast, which is bringing Cambodian young people into global conversation and meeting the world. So thank you again so much for joining me this morning. It was such an honor to get to have this discussion with you, and thank you for being our guest.
Well, the pleasure is mine, and thank you so much, Future Forum.
Thank you so
You've done
much.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.